Hello and welcome to Adobe Live. I am so excited for today's live because I am joined by my good pal James Martin, and we are going to be chatting all about branding and logo design. And I know there's lots of people already in the chat who are excited to ask you questions. So let me just say hello to everybody. We've got Angus, Linda, Nima, Emma, Oliver, Mike. I think it's going to be a busy one today. Hey to Sandrine and Sean. And Melanie is going to be a busy chat, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, if you are watching us on YouTube right now, then I would totally encourage you to head over to Behance, go to b.net/Adobe Live so that you can come and ask James loads of questions. So, hey, James, how's it going?
Hello, I was waiting for my hello.
I know,
Yeah,
sorry.
cheers,
I'm
Liz.
just
Yeah,
ignoring you.
yeah. No, I'm really good, mate. I'm really good, thank you. Very excited to be here.
Yeah,
Very excited to share some stuff. Very excited to offer what little bearded knowledge I have gathered over the many years in the industry. So, yeah, I'm ready to go. The
amazing.
sun is actually shining today in the UK, as you know, which is
Yeah,
very rare
it is
for us.
rare at the moment. Yeah.
Seems to have rained for at least 3 months, that's what it feels like. So, but yeah, I'm pumped to help.
Awesome. Well, everyone in the chat, if you want to start getting your questions ready, and we'll launch into maybe we can start off, James, with you sort of sharing a bit about how you got started in your journey.
I would love to, Elizabeth. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into full screen. Can you see this okay? I think
Yeah,
we can.
perfect.
So this is my face. This is not my actual face. This is a cartoon, but it is uncanny. What I'm going to do in this presentation is just give you a little bit of a brief breakdown into me, my journey, how I got to this Adobe Live, and everything in between. And I think Liz is going to jump in with any questions. So,
Yeah. If you've got any questions in the chat, put them in and I will ask them for you. And I've also got a bunch of my own questions as well. So
yeah,
we're good to go.
Liz is totally treating this as a one-on-one session,
Basically.
which is great, which I love. Me and Liz are good mates, so it's all good. So, brand identity design, living the dream. So, I suppose for anybody that doesn't know who I am, which are many people, my name is James Martin. I am an agency owner and I am focused down into the niche of brand identity design, which is what we're going to be chatting about today. And this has been coined or titled as living the dream, but I think it's really important to understand some longevity here. So what
Mhm.
everybody is seeing today is 18 years in the making. You know, for the first, this is pretty accurate. Clueless for a few years, blagging it for many years, started trying, and then lots of effort, and then now the dream is kind of happening. So yeah, it's quite, I think, especially with the kind of rise of, obviously not the rise of social media, but I started my design career in a world that wasn't social media driven.
Pre-social media. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so it was a very different place. Obviously, I mean, I love social media. I love how powerful it is as a marketing tool. I love how easy it is to connect with people. I think that there's a wonderful side of it, but there's also the side of it that I think what it has created is that, the need to become something as quick as possible has never been as much of a bigger problem than it is now. You know, shortcuts to
Mm.
doing this, like become this in a year, do this tomorrow, and you'll be a millionaire. I mean, and the world is just not like that. It just doesn't happen like that. So I just wanted to kind of illustrate like everything that you are seeing today. And I think I'm only just getting started. I think I've got at least another 18 years in the industry. So I
Mm.
think, if you are struggling year one, year two, you know, don't worry. because I was
Yeah.
absolutely clueless for the first 5 years of my career.
I
And I
think
just
that's
kept
the thing with
on.
social media, isn't it? Is that you often just see the end, like the success, and you don't see all the years that go behind it. So I think it's really helpful to see your journey. I've got a quick question for you from the chat. Well, Sandrine wants to know, were you blagging it, or did you just feel like you were blagging it?
I still feel like I'm blagging it today, mate, to be fair. I don't think you've ever mastered anything. I think there's always a better way, or like I think relearning is such an important thing, and I'm doing a lot of that right now. Things that I've been doing for a long time, like habits I've built, processes I've built.
Mm,
For a long time, my ego stopped me from developing those because I thought I was right. But the older I get, the cleverer I realize I am not. So
mm.
I basically am spending a lot of time relearning, like from loads of not just like logo designers and brand identity designers, but from people in every single industry. Like, how do they do things? What does their process look like? How do they build value? How do they prove worth? All this kind of stuff. And everything that I'm learning or have learnt, I'm now kind of not totally changing it, but kind of just understanding that it might not be right. So when it comes to the blagging it, I think we are all daily just trying to get through life, and
Mm.
there is an essence of blagging it because that is the way it is, isn't it? I think.
So we've got a question from our North American viewers. What does blagging it mean? So
Oh,
how would you
sorry.
describe it?
Yeah, blagging it. I've got to
It's like
remember that
winging it, isn't it?
yeah,
Winging it, I
yeah,
think, would be a
yeah,
good.
my Englishisms don't always travel very well. There'll be a few
Yeah,
of them.
fake it till you make it. I guess it's that
It's
kind of
basically
thing.
it. It
Yeah.
is kind of just trying to make it up as you go along. That is basically
Hmm.
what I would consider blagging it. And like I said, like even still today, like because I'm constantly trying to learn and develop and evolve myself, I'm still making it up as I go along. But the
Mm.
difference is now that there's a lot more control. I
Yeah.
understand the details, I understand process, I understand the business side of it, but everything in between that is still a little bit chuck some shit at a wall. Does it
See
work?
what happens.
And see what
Yeah.
happens. If it doesn't, don't move on.
Try something
So
else.
yeah, I've got to remember blagging it. Nobody knows
Yeah.
what that means, but we do now.
I didn't think of that. Sean says, how is it that when we age and become wiser, we figure out how dumb we are? And I think there's truth in that.
There's a massive truth in that. And do you know what? I didn't even start reading books until because I've got quite bad dyslexia and I really struggled to read books and follow books. But I realized that what it was it's not that the books, it was the stuff that I was reading wasn't interesting me. So now I've
Yes.
spent a
Okay.
lot of time learning about like mindset, business, kind of like self growth. I work very hard on myself, as much as
Hmm.
hard on myself as I do on my business, because I know if I'm right, my business will be okay.
Yeah.
But the more I read from people who have, are smashing life, but understanding their trials and tribulations to get there makes you realize and self-reflect a little bit more. I mean, there's nothing better than a bit of self-reflection, I
Mm.
think. And it's the only way you're going to evolve. Because I said, like, for a long time, I thought I knew everything. And if I carried on as that human, I would still be in the blagging it section here, but still
Mm.
at 18 years. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So started trying big effort, the dream. And I said, like, I've got my dreams keep evolving. So I got a long way to go, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crikey.
Yeah. It's like a journey, isn't it? There's not an end point. We're still working through it.
Yeah, and this leads us. What a lovely little segue onto this little slide here. Um, a passion is your patience being rewarded. And by the way, if there's ever any spelling mistakes in this, I'm sorry, but I can't spell very well. But
Don't worry,
this is like,
everybody on Adobe Live knows that I can't spell either.
yeah,
Whenever I do an Adobe
so,
Live, you can guarantee that I spell something
yeah,
wrong.
so we're all winning. I mean, we're all imperfect at the end of the day, aren't we? So, and this is something I kind of really want to. I mean, this whole classic, I think follow your passion is the biggest load of codswallop I've ever heard in my life because I said, if I followed my passion when I was a teenager, I'd be a drug taking alcoholic who likes sport. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a really important thing to understand that I feel like, because I don't think you can really have a passion until you get good at something.
Mm,
That's when you start to really develop passion and you start to really thrive in something, is when you have given yourself the time and the patience to actually find that thing. I think a lot of people might, I don't like to generalize too much because that's not who I am, who I'm not trying to be. But what my point is here is like, if you are patient and you are consistent and you put a lot of effort into becoming something, you will be rewarded. And
yeah.
passions will visualize themselves and become apparent in many, many ways you not even thought possible, with
Mm.
opportunities and the rest of it. So this message, although gobbledygook, I've got to stop saying all these weird words, is very true. And I think, if you haven't found what you're passionate about yet, don't worry. You've got plenty of time. Be patient, keep working hard, and it will happen. They will present themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a quick question for you. This we might come on to this more later on, but I'll ask it
Sure.
now.
Yeah.
Annika wants to know, so you've been sharing a sort of series of reels recently about clients specifically,
Yeah.
and she would be interested to learn sort of how that started, like why you started doing that series, or what was your
Yeah.
inspiration for that series?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I mean, our industry is taken very seriously. There's a lot of people taking it very seriously, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think ultimately what I'm trying to do is make people smile a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm just visualizing situations that I have been in and have tried to explain it in a jovial way
Yeah.
through video format of reels on Instagram. I I love my clients. I've been blessed with hundreds of really, really good clients, but every now and again you get one that's a bit of a twit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that happens whether you are Aaron Draplin or starting your career. You will
Hmm.
always come across people who take the mickey, maybe don't quite understand the process or understand the worth of your creativity. What I'm trying to use my platform for, and what I've always tried to use it for, is honesty. And
Hmm.
I'm not just sitting on my Instagram with 240,000 followers blowing smoke up my own ass. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to make this place, especially my community, a place where I talk about what happens in the industry.
Mm.
Not like, look at how many awards I've got. I want to kind of say, look, it's not easy sometimes. And especially with the client thing, like anybody who is a good client will not get annoyed, because I've had a
I
few
was going to
people.
ask that if you were worried
Yeah,
that it put clients off, but yeah, I guess
yeah.
if they're a good client,
I've
then
had a
no.
few people kind of say this is really bad for your business, and I'm like,
Mm.
you don't have a clue how well my business is going, mate. So don't you worry about
Yeah.
that. But it's kind of like, this will put off clients, and I was like, no, it won't. It will put off bad clients, and I don't want to work with bad clients anyway. And I've had my clients send me DMs going, "This is hilarious." So
Oh, that's good.
there's
Yeah.
no need to worry about it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think only, like I said, anybody who is a real, I mean, and they're tongue in cheek, how to make a logo pop and then turning around popping a balloon. I mean, how is
Mm.
that not funny?
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And also, what it does is just raising a little bit of awareness to certain clients, is what I hope it's doing, to when clients are interacting with their designers, they might think twice about being rude or
Yeah.
saying,
You're educating people how to be a good client, which is good. Yeah.
I'm trying, but in my own weird way, I am trying. But like I said, if my clients, and I'll tell you what, I'm getting bigger and bigger clients since I've done those reels. So moral of
Interesting.
the
Yeah.
story, take the piss out your clients and you'll do all right. That's the moral of the story. Now, don't do that. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. But it's not done in an aggressive way. It's done in a
No.
very light-hearted, comical kind of way that I think everybody, and the reason they do well is because people can relate to them. People have been in that
Yeah.
situation. So, yeah, that's it. I hope that answers
Cool.
that question in a very,
Yeah.
very long way.
That was great.
Um, oh, God, crikey. So yeah, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about my journey into so basically this exact moment where
Hmm.
I'm chatting with Liz on Adobe. So yeah, so I was expelled from school. I was left home / kicked out at 17, and did drugs daily, drank daily, and loved drum and bass on the weekend. That was like from the age of, I would say, 17 to 21. That was my life. I worked in pubs, multiple pubs, got sacked from multiple pubs, worked in factories, basically messed around, did absolutely nothing of any worth for many years, and then basically woke up one day. Lots of people kind of say, like, what was the moment? And I say, I literally woke up one day and I thought, what on earth am I doing with my life? And that's exactly how it was. I mean, when you see people talking about that on TV or in books, you think, oh, that never happens. But it
Mm.
literally happened. I woke up after a massive bender, no sleep, and thought, this can't be what I'm here to do. This surely cannot be it. So that day I went and went to the local college and enrolled in the art foundation there, which an art foundation is basically where you do every single kind of
Try
discipline. So,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
you do sculpture, you do a bit of fine art, you do a bit of textiles, fashion, and obviously graphic design was also a part of that. So after that kind of HND, that foundation year, my tutor said to me, I was like, I'm going to do fine art. That's what I want
Okay.
to do.
I was going to ask if you'd gone into it planning, like already knowing that you
No,
wanted to do graphic design. No.
no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
I
no,
think
no,
that
no.
happens to a lot of people. I went into my foundation wanting to do photography and then came out wanting to do graphic design.
Yeah. So I was always an artist because I've always been handy with a pencil.
Hmm.
I've always drawn, I've always doodled. That was a place and that's why I went and did the art foundation, because I found, for me, it was a place that I felt I could belong. I
Yeah.
think that's what I was looking for. I needed some sort of protection. I needed somewhere, because at school I wasn't particularly clever, but maths, rubbish, like all the proper subjects, I was absolutely turd at. But art and design, I was okay. I wasn't the best, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my tutor actually said to me, at the end of that year, you should go into graphic design, and I was like, really? I mean, it's not really something that I like. But he was like, well, with your kind of drawing style, you're quite exact. You seem to understand space and form quite well. And I was like, no, all right, I'll give it a go. Do you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
ultimately, for me, like, education back then was stopping me from drinking. Well, it didn't stop me
Yeah.
from drinking, but it was something to focus on.
Something
Do you know what
else
I
to
mean?
do.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
something to fill my day with rather than smoking loads of weed and doing loads of ease. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of it was a rough period, but it's one that I don't look back on with any pain or anything. I think I had to go through that to get to where I am today. It's just
Mm.
part of my life's journey. So yeah, well, then went and did a 2-year HND in graphic design, then went on to uni to do a communication design degree. That's what it was called, I think, communication design or something like that. I don't know. I learned absolutely nothing. I turned up quite a lot, but didn't learn anything. Not anything that was really applicable to the industry.
Mm.
Is like learning how to make my own book useful, as in like bind it. I don't think so. So that was kind of something that I did. But during that um, degree, I found myself a little part-time agency job. So I was in there, and I was kind of still at this stage, even at the degree kind of level. I was like, I don't really know if this is something what I want to do, but I'm in it. So I'm going to get to a point where it's done, and then I've always got it if I want to fall back on it. Because
Mm.
I then went and I was a teacher, I went and taught my old school art and stuff like that. Um, tattoo, and then I went on. Then I was kind of, I don't really like that, and then went on to do a tattoo apprenticeship, and then I was like, I really like tattoos, so surely I'm going to love being a tattoo artist. No, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
always
then
work that way, does it?
no, it doesn't always work that way, but I was always like, everything I tried to do, there was a creative element to it. So
Yeah.
it was teaching art, tattoo apprenticeship,
Hmm.
and then I kind of jumped back into this kind of junior designer role. So I was part-time at that agency, teaching tattoo apprentice on the side kind of thing, and then kind of thought, I'm gonna ask them if I can get a full-time role here. They said yes. And that's when I started working there. And I worked there for about 5 years. And
Hmm.
again, I was absolute twaddle at everything. You like couldn't design, couldn't animate, couldn't take a picture. And I was doing everything, like little
Mm.
bits of making tea, So I literally starting at the bottom. And that's something that's I think is quite an interesting conversation. Like this is back like 18 years ago now. So it was you go into an agency, you start at the bottom and you work your way up. There's a big issue right now where people who are 1, 2 years, 3 years into their industry thinking they're at the top. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And this is what social media does.
Yeah.
It tells us we need to be a badass business owner, a badass entrepreneur, have all of our shit figured out, at age 22, yeah, year two in our, in our industry or whatever. It's just not the case.
Mm.
So, and I think that's, there's all this talk about, yeah, just be a freelancer, I think there's something that's crazy stat like I think only 10% of freelancers that start make it to year five.
Yeah. Even
10%.
in graphic design, I remember them telling us on our degree that the number of us that would actually continue as graphic designers beyond 5 years was like a really low percentage. But yeah,
Mm.
same
Yeah,
same sort of thing.
it's a tough gig, and it's a tough gig when you're working in an agency who are
Mm.
dealing with all the business side of it, all the marketing side of it, and all you have to do is turn up and do the work, which is obviously really important. But as a freelancer, I think on average, like if you take a 40-hour week, really you're actually only being creative for 20 hours. They say about half the
Mm.
time is spent on the business, working like marketing, admin, and then the other half is actually creative. So, anybody here thinking about what should I do, I would urge everybody to try and start. It's not always easy, don't get me wrong. You can be freelancing on the side, but try and start like right away looking for agency roles, junior design roles, even if you're doing it for free, even if you go
Mm.
in one day a week just to kind of do like an apprenticeship almost thing and just say,
Mm.
look, I don't want any money. I just want to see how the business works,
Getting
or
experience, yeah.
just try and gain that experience because I learned more in 6 months within an agency than I did in 3 years doing a degree.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because it's not necessarily like there are billions and billions, not billions, I'm totally exaggerating there, but there are a lot of people, who are fantastic creatives, who have no idea how to make money.
Mm.
Therefore, they will never survive and they will never be able to run a business. I'd much prefer to be a better marketer. I think I am a better marketer than a better designer. Do you know what I mean? I think if you can learn that business side of it and that marketing side of it and consistently work on your creativity, you're going to do absolutely fine.
Mm.
Um,
James has given us a stat in the chat. He said 40% of graphic designers leave the profession after 2 years, and after 5 years, only 1 in 3 of us are still going. So yeah. And then
yeah,
Christiana has said that she's at the start of this journey, and this is really reassuring her, helping with the pressure and stress of thinking that she has to have it all figured out. So thank you for sharing. So that's yeah,
my
that's
friend, like I said, 18 years, and I feel like I've got my ducks aligned, but there's still so much more to learn, and I'm
mm.
constantly learning. So if anybody tells you that they've got their shit figured out after year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're lying. All right, don't listen to them. So yeah, the junior design role, and then Baby Giant Design Co., which is the agency I started after my first agency job. and then obviously Made by James.
Hmm.
Okay,
So the
so that's
agency came first, and then Made by James came after.
oui,
Okay.
madame. Yeah, that was a little bit of French for you there.
Did you with the agency, did you start on your own or did you have a team?
Yeah, so it was me and my buddy AD. So I do all the creative. I always like to say that I do all the stuff you see. He does all the stuff you don't see. So
Hmm.
he's very much like accounts, web, kind of coding stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very much more front end creative, brand identity, design stuff. So obviously together we're a good pairing, and we're still partners today in Baby Giant. That's something we own together.
Oh, amazing.
And our team's actually grown. So now we have an animator called Jord. My wife Kate works for me, and we've got studio manager called Lauren. So the team is growing. I don't want Baby Giant to be this big beast, because I got into design to design. I
Hmm.
started a design agency to design. I didn't start a design agency to tell other people what to design. So like being an art director kind of role and not actually touching anything, because I really love designing. I still love designing, even though I do a load of coaching now and I've done a load of logo courses and all the rest of it, and I'm trying to educate more designers as I go. I'm a designer who designs. I'm a designer who helps other designers. I'm not coaching from the back seats. I'm actually
Yeah.
in this every day, teaching what I'm learning as I go. Whereas, not that there's anything wrong with that, but wrong with it the other way. But I think if you're coaching creativity and business and you haven't been in the industry for 20 years, it's difficult to keep. It's changed so much. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? I think personally, obviously, there's foundational elements that do apply, but if you grew up in a design world that wasn't social media focused,
It's
bit
changed,
different.
yeah. We've got a
So,
quick question from Emma who says, what's the best approach to gaining an agency role if you're starting out and have no design work experience? Good
your
question.
best asset is you.
Mm.
I'll tell you something that I get pinged LinkedIn message, DM on Instagram, email, check out my portfolio, give me a job. Do you know what I mean? Not really effective, because for me that shows very little effort. It shows me that you're only doing that because you think you have to do that.
Mm.
Whereas I would always try and build relationships, and this is something that's such a powerful thing in business as a whole, is connection between people. So if you are looking for a design role somewhere, build a rapport with that company, follow them on, Instagram for a while, connect with them in other places, leave nice comments,
Mm.
make
Yeah,
sure
be
you talk.
social. Like that's the
Yeah,
whole
well,
point, isn't it? Yeah.
actually bring social back to social media. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? So,
Yeah.
and start to build a relationship with them, and then, don't just jump in. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something really bad then, but I'm not going to do it because we're alive. But you've got to kind of you've got to treat it with a little bit more respect. Treat it like a proper friendship. And what I would do is like I've always thought that effort goes a long way. So some of the most powerful portfolios I've received are actually in the post.
Hmm.
So it's a lovely little printed envelope, nice details. You open it up. There's some nice little booklet you go through. And yes, it costs money. And yes, it takes time. But I remember that person because then it says, check out more portfolio,
Yeah.
blah, if you want to see more. But, I've still got those things in my office.
It really
You know,
stands out, doesn't it?
it
Yeah.
does. And in a crowd and in an industry that's extremely competitive, if you go above and beyond, you will be the one that's remembered, and you will be the one that goes the furthest.
Mm.
If you just put yourself into the category of just whipping over your PDF, expecting agencies to read it when they're crazy, crazy busy and working all the time, it's just going to get lost in a pile.
Mm.
So build relationships, put effort in, and also like I tend to think that good people will help people.
Hmm.
So if there is a particular agency that you're quite interested in, maybe reach out to them and maybe just say, look, I understand I can't get a job. I understand that you're busy, but is there any way that you could give me half an hour of your time? Just
Yeah.
on a call to help me, to help answer any questions I've got, like maybe give me some advice on how to get a design role. I guarantee I'm hopefully, well, I'm not hopefully, but I guarantee I'm probably going to get 500 calls now. But what you want to do is basically kind of just like if you can get in front of somebody and be personable and have that connection, you just don't
Mm.
know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, totally. And Sandrine said that also basic proper hellos and thank you when you email someone. And that's such a good point because I think with social media, people really forget that there's a person behind the account and they'll just
yeah,
send you a DM asking a question and they're so rude. There's no like, oh, hey, would you mind helping me out and doing me a favor? Thank you so much for your time. All of that kind of
yeah,
stuff. So I think that's a really good point as well. Like sometimes
it's a
just
massive
like
one.
basic politeness goes a really long way.
Your P's and Q's matter, and that's not just with a job, that's in life. I had
Mm.
somebody the other day. I don't know if it was a he or she. So like they posted a thing about my book, and I went and commented on it, and I said, "Oh, thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed it, or whatever." And then I got a DM saying, "Share it to your story," and I was
Oh,
like, "Wow." So that's why you did it. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
you've got to be very wary about how you interact with people. Because like you say, I mean, in this kind of immediacy world, the need to become something super quick, manners tend to just be the first thing that tend to go. But
Mm.
I think human connection, like I share like all sorts of stuff, like about my past, about my struggles, and everybody again, like the client stuff, has said this is going to affect your ability to get clients. It's done the opposite. It's
Mm.
got me. It's like I'm thriving with clients. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Even though I'm sharing all of this, because they are seeing the real side of me. I'm not pretending to be anything that I am not. And I think that's what social media does. There's this facade sometimes that look at my awards. A lot of the time it's accounts stealing other people's work and then getting work for it. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? So I think the more you can show of yourself, like I think it's really important. Like there's like multiple ways you can connect with people. I like to think of people like colors. So there's like red people who are ambitious. There's green people who are emotional. There are blue people who are logical, and then there are yellow people that are kind of chances. They're fun. So whenever I'm communicating with people, whenever I'm creating content or building a case study, I'm making sure I'm hitting all these people. So
Mm-hmm.
for the red people, let's talk about my website, for example. Red people, ambitious, they just want to act. So calls to action, bing, bang, bang, so that they can contact me. Green people, emotional. Instagram, when I'm talking about my past, I'm talking about my thoughts and my journey, I'm connecting to the human, I'm connecting to them emotionally.
Mm.
Blue, logical, when I'm sharing a case study, the details, the scope, and then the chances, they're the fun people. Newsletters, do you know what I mean? Funny things on reels or whatever.
Yeah.
So always think
Everyone
about people.
in the chat, people are saying what color they are. Tony reckons he's bluey, red, orange.
Well, but you know what? The beautiful thing about this is that we're all a little bit of everything, just in
Everything.
different
Yeah.
scales. But this is
Yeah.
like when you look at your content or when you look at your work or you look at your portfolio, think about who am I connecting with? Because
Mm.
if you're only connecting with one section, so like a lot of portfolios out, we're going to go into case studies and stuff in a minute. I've got my kind of layout, but you know, if you look at your portfolio and it's just a picture,
Mm-hmm.
no context, no nothing, who are you engaging with there? Not
Yeah.
really ambitious people, not really logical. You're not giving enough detail or whatever it is, um, and you're missing out on 75% of people, is what I'm
Mm.
trying to say. So you've really got to try and connect with everybody, and which is why,
Yeah.
like, when it's just a cold business corporate face, you're just putting kind of words down, and like always talking about your work. You're not connecting with, letting them get to know you or anything like that. I can see you giggling, Liz.
Sorry,
What are
I'm
you giggling
giggling.
about?
I'm giggling because people are putting really funny things in the chat about colors and what color they are. But I've got a follow-up question from Emma's original
Sure.
question about like finding your first job. What do you think
Yeah.
about like self-initiated work, like doing your own projects? Because Thomas has written to get one of my first jobs, I rebranded one of their clients before the interview and they loved it. Self-initiated work can go a long way in showing your value. So have you got any thoughts on that?
100%.
Yeah.
Work is work is work, but what I would suggest more than anything is the best thing that you'll ever do to get a client or to get a job is to show how you think, because you are way more than your output. So you're way more than a logo, you're way more than a mock-up. What have you done to get your
to that
work to
point.
that stage? It's all the thinking that makes you extremely valuable. If you can prove that, if you can show people how you think, you can talk them through the detail of how your mind works, how you connect the dots, and how that turns into something beautiful as an end design, you're going to be set for life. The problem is right now is people just post a logo, no context, what do you think? It's like, I don't really know.
And I think I don't want to like speak for you, but having followed you on Instagram for a while, like that is something that you do a lot, isn't it, on your Instagram account, where you start with the sketches and you sort of show the process all the way through, and people respond really well to that and really enjoy that, don't they?
Yeah, I think the interesting stuff is the thing that happens before the final thing. And that will be the same for clients. When clients come to me through Instagram or through anywhere, they tell me, I love the way you work. They don't say, I love your work. They say, I love the way you work, which tells me that I'm doing a good job proving to them how I think. And they are buying my brain. They're not buying a logo or a brand identity. They're buying the way I think. And this is way more valuable than a logo. So price this, don't price a logo or a brand identity, is what I will say.
Yeah.
So shall I carry on?
Yeah, carry on.
You've distracted me. All right.
Sorry.
It's all right. This is just a page of rubbish, just fun doodles. So
I love it.
Obviously we're just playing on the beat. This is by a mate of mine, Tillman Creative Co. We kind of partners on this stuff. Like, it's all about big things small and small things big. So dragons in a matchbox, ladybug on a rocket. Do you know what I mean? Big goldfish. Just a bit of fun. But this allows me to bring a little bit more energy to my brand. And that's what I would like to also jump on, is like, work extremely hard on your own stuff as much as you possibly can. Because like, I wouldn't go and hire an architect who lived in a tent. Do you know what I mean? If you are a brand identity designer and you don't have your own logo, you're an idiot. Do you know what I mean? So in the nicest possible way, but you are an idiot, because what are they going to, I now understand all this thing about showing your face is the most important thing, which it is, but you've got to show the work you want to get. That's what you got to do. And you've got to really put that effort into that, because if you're not putting effort into your own brand and your own brand identity and all your own business, that is a very easy fix for your client to go, well, they've put no effort into their logo, they put no effort into their website, therefore they're not worth as much as they think they are.
Okay, here's a question for you, because I know that you have, like, so for example, you worked with someone to create these illustrations. Like, designing your own brand as a designer is notoriously a really difficult thing to do. So do you think it's okay to outsource that? Or do you think it's important that you do it yourself to sort of showcase your skills?
If you are a logo designer and you're outsourcing your logo design, you need to get a different job, a different profession. So my point here is that I believe that when it comes to brand identity, logo creation, logo types, I can battle with the best of them. I feel I can hold my ground. Illustration, I am not the best. So what I do,
so that's the element that you've outsourced.
Yeah. So what I do is I employ the best. What I do is I'm not the best at animation, so I employ the best animator. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
but I do all my own logo work.
Mm-hmm.
That is where my forte. I cannot be the best at illustration, the best at animation, the best at logo design, the best at building brands. It's impossible, So I do is I focus my energy into what I am best at, which is building brand identities.
Mm-hmm.
I still, even like illustrations like this, I still art direct that, like, this is what I want, this is how I see it. But then I get people who are better at me to execute it and bring their own energy to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Makes
mean?
sense.
So the only way you're going to evolve and grow as a business is if you grow your team.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't have to be like, you don't have to employ them, but having like, people that you can rely on for stuff, is really, really important. Like if you are a logo designer, team up with a web developer. If you're a web developer, team up with a brand identity designer. If you're a brand identity designer, team up with a strategist. Whatever you want to do, but having a network of trusted people is key to growth. And also having different people's perceptions, different people's energy is massive, especially when you work for oneself.
Yeah. How do you go about finding those people? Like, how have you, I'm guessing, I mean, it's similar to what you were talking about before, is building those connections and building those relationships.
Yeah.
Is that how you found
I
people
mean,
that you want to work with?
found my mate, Mr. Tillman here, through Instagram. I
Okay.
followed his work.
Yeah.
I loved his work for a long time. And I thought, well, do you know what? One day, when I'm ready, I'm going to smash him and get him to do all my stuff.
Yeah.
I've worked with Lincoln Design Co. I've worked with many other fantastic illustrators to bring life to an energy to my brand.
Mm-hmm.
And that energizes me, because now when it comes to presentations and stuff like this and my website and all the rest of it, it shows that I'm putting effort into my brand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm investing money and energy in other people to help me build the dream that I have in my mind, because I can't do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. So like I said, just finding these people. Like I've worked with Mr. Tillman. I keep calling him Mr. Tillman, but his name's Carl. For a long time, we've worked on a lot of my Made by James stuff together, Baby Giant stuff. And it just allows me, because I'm so focused on doing what I'm doing, I don't have time to do these things. So I partner with other people to get them done. Do you know what I mean? I prefer to get stuff done than for it not to be done. And I want it done well.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Makes sense.
So, yeah. Sorry, that was I talked for a long time then. Again,
it's great.
Where are we? Made by James, mate.
Tell us about it.
So obviously, like Baby Giant is the agency. So that's something that we've been going for like 12 years now. And I decided, I think like 7 years ago, by total accident, I just started my Instagram account. It used to be Jamalicious. I used to share pictures of my dog, and I used to, what else I used to do? Share pictures of me drinking around the fire, all that rubbish. Not that there's anything bad with that, but it was what it was. And then I read a book by Austin Kleon called Show Your Work.
Yes, amazing book.
At that time, I was very much kind of like, well, not what am I doing, but what's next? The agency was, like I said, year 5, year 6. And I was kind of like, I want to make more money. How do I do? I started kind of investing a little bit into my learning and all the rest of it, and reading a lot more books. And I read that book, and he said, share something small every day in it. And I went, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I changed my Instagram account to Made by James, and I started sharing doodles. I started sharing my process. I started sharing some typography bits and pieces. And 7 years later, I'm at almost 250,000 people follow me on Instagram alone. Do you know what I mean? So what that has evolved into, all of this is no joke, an absolute accident. That's what it is. It's a happy accident that's evolved out of being extremely consistent and putting in a lot of effort.
Yeah.
So this is just some stuff. But like, I would coin myself, should we say, as a designer that helps other designers, because I still am very focused. Like right after this call, I have a client call, and then right after that, I have a coaching call. So I am balancing this lovely dual. I feel like Batman. Do you know what I mean? Or no, not Batman. Yeah, Batman, but really shit and a bit fat. Yeah. So my point is like because I've got this kind of, I said, like, given a lot of time to clients, a lot of energy to helping businesses become whatever they want to become through brand identity and design and web and all the rest of it through Baby Giant, that over the last, especially 2 or 3 years, I've had this real urge to help people. And I've been doing that for free, in my content for years and years and years, trying to, I get people just randomly saying, like, why, other designers, like, why would you give this stuff away? Why would you tell people this stuff? And I'm like, because I want to help people. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't, I feel that there is this kind of a little bit of this secret club, that does tend to happen, where, you figure it out yourself, mate. Do you know what I mean? And that was something I experienced growing up as a designer. And I thought, do you know what? I don't like that. So I thought, if I ever got into a position where my voice could be heard, I would use it to the best of my ability to help other people. So that's what I definitely try and do through social. And like I said, I've started building, got my newsletter, I got my courses and my coaching. So I'm starting to kind of lean into giving back to the design industry in some way. Yes, there is a cost to it, but what you can make by learning that stuff, you should make hundreds of thousands of dollars for a £350 course or $350 course. Do you know what I mean? That's my theory, because it's everything that I've learned to get to this stage, and it's worked. Do you know what I mean? So, brand identity designer, creative coach. I got a book out. That's fun.
Tell us about the book. How did that come about?
Again, happy accident. Pre-COVID, it was not particularly good timing. They reached out to me. But again, they followed me on Instagram.
Yeah.
This is the beauty of it. Like, you have no idea who is following you. You do. You might know who's following you because you can look at them, but you don't know what their objective is or their incentive. So I have people who are starting projects with me now who have been following me for 5, 6, 7 years, saying that when I needed you, I knew where to find you.
Yeah.
Clients have this feeling that you'll keep showing up for them. If you're quiet for 3.5 months and then do 1 post or 2 posts and then quiet for 6 months, well, the next time they go on there looking for their designer, they're going to go, well, obviously not doing it anymore. Do you know what I mean? So not that social media and, all of that should be your world, but it should be a strategic part of your business that you are very consistent with, I would suggest.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I've got similar stories where people that I had no idea were following me got in touch, and then like amazing things happened. So yeah, it's really cool. Definitely.
The only reason you and me are on this platform speaking for Adobe or with Adobe, by Adobe, I don't know, whichever way you want to look at it, is because we show up.
Yeah.
Consistently. They thought that they could put their trust in you and me to be able to be here today. Because if we didn't show up, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So, and that consistency is what is powerful. And do you know what? It's better to be consistent than good, I would say.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I think sometimes people get so afraid of waiting till everything's perfect to share anything that they don't end up sharing anything.
Yeah, go through half of my posts on Instagram. They've all got bloody spelling mistakes. Do you know what I mean? But they're out there and they're doing their job. And even though they are spelt wrong, the message is clear. The passion is there. The consistency is there. So yeah, don't wait till you're ready.
Yeah,
is what I would say. Just go
That is
right now. Leave
That's a
this
good tip.
stream and
Yeah.
go and do something. That's what
Go
I
and
would
post
do.
something. If
In fact, no, wait for this stream. Wait for the stream.
wait till the end of the stream and then go and get started. If
Yeah.
anybody is still watching us over on YouTube, then feel free to head over to Behance. We're about halfway through chatting to James. Head to b.net/Adobe Live and come and ask us questions. I've got another question for you from the chat, which I think you might want to hold off on. I'll ask it to you and you can see because I think we're going to go into case studies. But Annika would love to know how your brand identity process has evolved over the years. So do you sketch out the ideas first, or do you go straight into Illustrator?
It's a great question. And I am still very much old school. Like I would say I am 80% sketchbook.
Okay.
I finish in Illustrator. That is where I bring balance and structure and rules to my designs. I prefer, there's no such thing as perfect, but I get them to a point where they are ready to share with the client. The rest of my work is all done in Sketchbook. And that's just my style. And there are a lot of designers who go straight into Illustrator. And the important thing here is that the process of how you create stuff is always unique to the person. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't like if somebody's telling you you should do this, you should do that. There are certain things you should do. Like you should get your contract signed. You should have some sort of process involved. You should be charging what you're worth and all the rest of it. But how you create stuff is down to you. And if it works for you, nobody should ever tell you that it's wrong. If you present a load of sketches first and then you develop it from there, great. If you just share one design at a time, great. If it works and the client's happy, you should be all good to go. So I would suggest that the only thing that's happened with so I've always kind of done this process where I do a lot of hand-drawn stuff and then take it into Illustrator, mock it up, present one idea. If the client doesn't like that idea, we then go through a process of feedback and then I evolve that idea. I don't present multiple ideas at any time. But the one thing I really, really want to share, which has just popped in my brain, and if I don't say it, it's going to go. It's do not worry about your price. Only focus on your process. That is the best bit of advice I can give you, because the quicker you will get, the more money you will make, the more profit you will make. You can charge 10K for a project, but if it takes you 8 weeks at 40-hour weeks, you're making $30 an hour. You might as well go and work at a supermarket. But if you charge 10K and it takes you 2 weeks, you're making buck. You're making bank. Do you know what I mean? So yes, price is important, but there's so much focus on price. Like I just need to up my prices. But if you've got no process, you've got no understanding of like how long stuff takes, you're never going to make a profitable business. So focus really hard on your process, because that will make you more money. Then you can worry about price.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I think these are we talked earlier about art college and the things that we learn. I think these are the elements that you really learn when you're in it and you're doing the job. Yeah.
Is it you only learn by doing? I think especially like with the conversation is, I want to make more money. How do I make more money? How do I get higher paying clients? The fact of the matter is that you could keep your prices the same for the next 5 years, but what was taking you 10 hours could end up taking you 5. You're automatically making more money. Yes, you're going to up your prices during that time. I'm not suggesting you do that, but the point is, what is taking you 100 hours with a decent process, with really strict kind of guidelines for yourself, with getting the client to do some of it, you could strip that down by at least half. So you're automatically making double the amount of money just by doing that. So really, process is the most important thing in your business, because if you don't have any process, you could just be chucking numbers around willy-nilly and you won't even know how much you're making. Do you know what I mean? So really focus on that.
Yeah, we so another, I don't know if you've seen him on Adobe Live, but Tony Harmer is one of the hosts, and he is all about creating better workflows. And so like his
Mm,
specialism is within like the Adobe software, like how can you save yourself time? How can you create better workflows? And I think that is a really helpful reminder that actually going, like looking through the process, how we can streamline things, how we can make things more efficient is the sort of thing that we need to keep doing all the time.
yeah. If you think about like, I've heard these wonderful stories about like elite sportsmen and elite kind of yeah, basically elite sportsmen. They don't work on, doing anything apart from like maybe like if we wear something slightly different, we'll be able to save a second.
Mm,
If we develop our process here, so there was a chap I was talking to, who's my old teacher, who my wife was talking to him, but he was talking about like the process they went to save time to win. So especially on like racing boats, like how can we streamline the process of us crossing? How can
mm,
we streamline the process of doing the rope quicker? What can we do to do this bit? And all those little things in the process made them win. It
mm.
wasn't a more expensive boat. It
Yeah.
wasn't, it wasn't calmer seas or whatever. It wasn't just chucking money at it. It's like, what can we do as a team to save a couple of seconds here, to shave half a second here? And it was down to process. That's what helped them win, not, like I said, like buying a better boat.
Have you
Don't
ever
they?
read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear? Because he
It's
talks about this.
number
He
one, number one on my list of books for
it's
every human to read. Yeah.
it's so good. And that whole idea of just working on making things 1% better, like 1% more efficient. And then over time, it's like you just said, all of those little things will improve like dramatically how you work.
It's massive. Yeah, it is. And like you mentioned, everybody, if you haven't read that book, should read that book
Yeah.
because it's a game changer for as an industry, we are notoriously um unroutinable, which is
Mm,
weird, which is not a word, but I've just made it up. But we do struggle because as creators, like some of us work late, some of us are creative in the morning. We don't like to follow structure. We're quite rebellious, but what it talks about is the power of like habit stacking and routine. And ever since I've had a good routine, which has been a long time now, my life and business have gone up. Like
mm,
imagine if your brain's like it's a muscle. So if you don't train it to work, if you don't train it to know when it's supposed to be on and when it's supposed to be off, then you're going to struggle. Do you know what I mean? So if you're working like 48 hours straight and then wake up at like midday, then go to bed, and then someday you're quite busy again, and then you're trying to get your brain to work. It's like I don't know I don't know if I'm awake, mate. Don't know if I'm supposed to be working. So this is why you get like block, and this is
mm.
why you get like imposter syndrome. Like, why can I do this? It's all down to like routines and habits
I
and
feel
all
like
that.
this is like a 1.5 hour coaching masterclass. We're like covering everything. It's like how to
Yeah, I tell
transform your
you what. I
life
mean, I'm
with
even
James.
coaching myself, so it's great. I love it. So yeah,
So
it's really important. And obviously, on this last side, I'm a bearded human. So there you go. But you already knew that.
yeah,
Um, so one thing that because what I'm going to go is I'm going to go into case studies. I know we're kind of
we've got
smashing
half
through
an
time
hour
here.
yet
Yeah, I
left.
know.
Yeah.
So I told you I could talk, mate. Basically, what I kind of these two slides here is what I want to go through is like the importance of type. So I
Mhm.
spend just as much time working on my type game and my lettering game as I do my marks and my symbols and my mascots. Because if I'm only working on this, for example, I'm missing out on all of these clients.
Mhm.
But because I get both, I get both. Well, because I
Yeah.
do both, I get both. So what I would like to just kind of say here is just making sure that, whenever you're creating a logo, don't just make the typography element like a forgotten mate. Do you know what I mean? Like 99% energy goes into your mark, and then you slap some font you found, free font you found on it, because it takes away from all that work and that energy. If you work on your type, you will be valuable to people across the planet forever. So do that.
Good tip. Yeah, really
All
good
right?
tip.
Work on your type.
I've got another quick question for you, just before you launch into case studies.
Yeah.
Christiana's just asked, do you have any good book recommendations that help with your design process?
Made by James, the creative guide to
Oh, I should have got it off my
design.
Shelf so that I could have held it up.
That's a particularly good book. That's very, very good.
Because in that you do really break down, don't you? Sort of, well, share a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. It's not just about design; it's about all sorts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to plug my book too much because it's a super wanky thing to do. But basically, when I got asked to write a book, I didn't want it to be like a lot of other books where it was just like, look at how awesome I am, look at all the work I've done. I actually wanted to create a book that outlines like how to get clients, what the design process looked like, how to deal with negative clients, how to do the feedback process. So the book itself is actually based on a load of process stuff, with a tiny, just me talking about it. So that's a good book. I would get that. And then, I mean, I find books about process.
Another one that I really like is, I don't know if you know Jessica Hish. She's done one, and I think she's a brilliant sort of type designer. She's done one, and she shares, like you do, a lot of her process and her sketches, and in her book she sort of like details, how she got from here to here, which I think is really helpful to see.
Yeah, there's Mike Jander as well. He's got a nice little book, Burn Your Portfolio, which is quite interesting about all that kind of stuff as well. So, and ultimately, like, I think any book, like Draplin's book, Contino's book, these are all really good books of like just getting an insight into how people work and how people think. Ultimately, the biggest problem is with processes, it's such a personal thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody can just replicate my process and it work. It works for me because of the way I work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But so what you've got to do is you've got to seek inspiration from so many different sources, go and follow your favorite designers, break down what they do, go and follow your favorite business people, go and see what they do, and then kind of mold it all into this unique little journey for yourself. And there'll be some things that I do that won't work for other people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So just got to pick bits that tend to work. And I find just following other people, reading some books, if you go into like any Waterstones kind of place book, Barnes and Noble, I think's the biggie one over there, isn't it? So in the old States. So, there'll be lots of, books by designers that will kind of err on process, and talk about, show you sketches and how you do it. And what I have found is that a lot of the design, especially the ones that I follow, everybody tends to start in a sketchbook.
Yeah.
Everybody tends to start with some sort of doodle, some sort of notepad, and then evolve from there. It's very rare, from what I've seen, that people go straight into, and it doesn't matter if you do, but if you go straight into, I think if you go straight into computer, you're almost putting this boundary on you. Just imagine that screen as like a box. Whereas, like, I know, like, a piece of paper is a box as well, but you know what I mean? But, I think you can have a bit more freedom in there. Just a bit more, like, it doesn't matter. Nobody has to see it. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. Just express yourself. Like, try and not put too many rules on your process, especially in the creative element at the start. I think it's really important.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Stuart's recommended Gavin Strange's book as well, so I'm going to go and check that one out afterwards.
Yeah, I've never heard of that, but I will definitely go and check it out as well. Thank you for the recommendation.
So, case studies. Let's go for it.
So, case studies. That's an elephant in a flower. Okay. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open up my agency website, Baby Giant. Can everybody see this okay? I'm going to make it a little bit. What I wanted to do was just kind of talk about the kind of case study element of of this, because I think it's such an important thing to talk about, especially when it comes to designers and your portfolio and wanting to get work. So rather than smashing 400 projects into your portfolio, we've only got 4 on here.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because of no client worth their salt has got enough time. They haven't got a day to go through every single one of your projects. So what I would do is, we are going to add a few more to this, but we're never going to have any more than 6 projects at a time, and we're just going to evolve them. Okay. But what that allows us to do is it allows us to go into detail. Because like I said, like the only way to prove that you are valuable is to show the value that you bring people. If you are just sharing a picture, I'm going to price that and I'm going to go, that's not very much. But if you show them, for example, like a case study that takes the viewer, the client, through a load of thinking, through the deliverables, then you're going to be onto a winner. So when it comes to a case study, obviously we've even kind of branded the page to client, which is quite a fun thing to do if you've got the capability. And then we go into like an overview of the project here, and then we've got like the project scope. So, and like obviously the people who were involved. So I did the brand identity logo design, and my mate George, who works for me, did all the animation. So what we're doing here is we're setting the scene. Okay. So this is what it is. This is who they are. This is what they said when they got in contact with us. Then we go into the fact that it was a redesign. So this is what their old logo was like. This is what their new logo is like. And we talk about that process. Then we show the logo working in responsive nature, showing that it can work horizontally, vertically, as an icon, all the rest of it. So the client's already kind of going, okay, this dude is thinking about, how my logo is going to work. So they're like, well, how's it going to work on this? Already shown them there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Then we go into things like typography choices. So we created a custom type for this guy or this company. And then we talk about things like, colors, for example, why we chose colors. Do you know what I mean? So we're going into that really deep detail, like rather than just showing a logo with 3 mock-ups, we're taking the client on a journey.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's interesting. It's interactive. Do you know what I mean? So you can play with these bits. Like I say, you don't have to go into this kind of detail, but the more detail you go into, the more powerful the experience is going to be. It's going to be much easier to sell you when you drop a number and you can go, bam,
this is what you're getting. This page,
exactly. They can start to equate that. Then we kind of go, okay, so how does it start to work on the packaging that we did? How does it start to work on their coffee, their cups? All these are real pictures. And then we kind of go like, right now, this is how we got it animated. This is how we got it moving. This is how we brought it to life. So we brought all of that energy into the illustration, into the animations, and how that kind of works. And then again, like, how does it work within their shop? Like, this is the pattern. This is the eyes of our little skull dude.
Yeah.
Here. So we took his eyes out and these elements to develop the identity across their shops as like wallpapers and all the rest of it. Like even on their pocket, you can see like how they've used this identity element. You can just see basically what we're doing here is we're just like bashing in this story, like layers.
All the little details as well. It's just amazing.
Exactly. And it's just so like I said, like, so when you're trying to, like, this is a brand new website. We weren't doing it as well as this before, but now I feel that like, sometimes, before we kind of like, oh, people go, have you got a website? And you're kind of like, yeah, I've got a website, but can we talk? Now I'm like, head to my website, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It shows you everything. It's such a great asset for you, especially when
definitely.
You tell a story like this. And what is also really important is testimonial. So at the end of every single project,
case study, Yeah.
Case study. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. There is a testimonial from the client. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we absolutely love the process and the caliber of work this fine human being delivered. By process, we mean the willingness to make sure that we were happy and utterly satisfied with the final product. Was very comforting. We couldn't recommend Baby Giant Co enough. So what this does is it kind of the client through this journey. You got to think about those colors, so we're hitting everybody here. We got the logicals, we got the
Yeah.
emotionals, we got the ambitious, we got the chances. And what we're doing here is we're just kind of all this work has got them, but now like an actual testimonial from the client on this particular thing is good.
Yeah,
what I said.
and it gives the whole story, doesn't it? By having the testimonial, that almost like ends the journey and the story really nicely because you're actually hearing from the person who you've done it for. Evie says
exactly.
that the work comes across as very joyful as well, which I think's so true.
I'll tell you
really
what,
nice.
I am a joyful chap, and I think that's what that is the best comment I've ever heard. Thank you very much. Because I think what it is. And what I will tell you, who was that who said that? Sorry?
Evie said that.
Evie, what I will say to you is stick to your guns and be yourself through all of your work. I try, obviously it's all done to a brief, it's all done with the client in mind, but I express myself through my work. I take it to a creative place that I want to take it to. And the client loves that. Do you know what I mean? I could just, I say I don't like to generalize or whinge about anything, but I think there could be more effort. I think like when you dive into your character and your style, you do start to create the stuff that is unique. Do you know what I mean? Like, and trying to, like I said, like just trying to build character into your designs. Yes, obviously they're like different briefs require different things and all the rest of it. But I think it is really important to have a style, have a vibe, because that's what sets you. I mean, some people absolutely freaking hate my stuff, and I'm okay with that because there's a lot of people who pay me because they do like it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than me molding into like the designers, I'd prefer to be that guy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And also, like, no one's ever going to be the designer for everybody. We've all got different tastes, we've all got different styles. And actually, I think you're less likely to succeed if you're trying to be appealing to everybody rather than trying to appeal people who trying to sort of draw in people who really appreciate your work and really enjoy your work.
Yeah, 100%. Like you cannot be everything to everybody. And the beauty of it, I mean, this is why I find the kind of design industry when people don't share, not that you can be whatever you want, you can be whoever you want, you can live your life however you want to live, but there is a big pie. The pie is this big, which doesn't look very big now I'm putting it like that, but all you is the tiniest little slice of that pie to survive. You don't need the whole pie. And the problem, the weird thing is, if you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're nothing to anyone.
Yeah, that's a really good quote. Yeah.
So you can keep that. That just popped in my brain. So you can have that one. So yeah, again, we're kind of like really diving into. We actually also did the website for this company, so bringing in that energy, the brand identity, and again, like branding the colors, so that. It's an experience, like it's our website, but the experience for the case studies, is branded to the client. And showing things moving as well is always really exciting.
Yeah,
and again,
love that.
Quote, is massive, is a great way to finish things off. So, do you want me to talk any more about this?
We've only got 15 minutes left. So if anyone's got any burning questions, head over to the chat. If not, I can very happily ask you more questions because.
So I'm gonna cancel.
Head back into your
I was basically finished, I think. all I've got is this guy, which is basically what I'm doing now. So that's good. We've gone through kind of my agency life. We've gone through like Made by James, the personal brand, who's a kind of a designer who helps designers, but still does all of his brand identity work through like Baby Giant. That's my agency. But then we've got like these are the things that I'm kind of doing like now. So I've got my Logo Life newsletter, I've got my Logo Legends course, and I've got my Logo Life bootcamp. So these are three of the ways that I'm kind of helping other designers.
So I wanted to ask you about that because I know that you, maybe pivot's the wrong word, but you have gone quite into sort of like the education kind of side of things over the last year. Like, how are you balancing that with, are you still doing client work? Like, how are you balancing that, and what's that pivot sort of look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to work it out as I go, mate. Like we talked about. But like I said, like I've given like 18 years to clients, and I love it. But there's this burning urge now to make more for other people and make more for designers, because I believe I have got some good stuff to share to people. And I want to be able to share that in ways that I control, and that, you know, so these aren't on like Domestika or Skillshare or anything like that. They're kind of all based, they're all for me. Do you know what I mean? And I share them how I want to share them with my own vibe, whatever. Like the Logo Legends course is like 12 hours. Do you know what I mean? So there's loads of stuff in there. So yeah, for me, it's like the balance is quite difficult, but what I'm doing now is I'm taking a lot less clients, but charging a lot more money.
Okay.
So that frees up a lot of my time, because there's a lot less people willing to spend that kind of money than there were at some of the prices that I was doing 2 or 3 years ago. So, you know, I've kind of upped my prices, but this, you know, like I said, I think I'm going to be the most effective educator, coach, if I'm still in the game. So I'm always going to have an element of design, client work in my life. And I've got some massive clients I'm working with next year, but those massive clients come with bigger budgets, which allow me to work slightly less on. So I might do 10 to 15 projects rather than 80 to 100 projects.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which gives me more time to work on building courses. I've got this Logo Life bootcamp coming out next year, which is like a 12-month bootcamp, with coaching and all sorts of stuff coming out on it. So, and obviously, like I drop all my kind of coolness on my newsletter, as Logo Life newsletter, which is fun as well. So yeah, that's basically me, mate.
So oh, sorry, I've got a couple more questions.
Yeah, go for it.
So James has got a question. He says, how much time per week do you dedicate to making content for Instagram? He's asking for a friend.
Is he? Is his name James? Is the friend's name James?
James. Yeah, James.
James is asking for himself.
No, it's James Barnard.
Oh, is it? Bernard.
Yeah. Bernard. Or maybe I'm saying it wrong.
No, I don't know. It might be Bernard, but I think it's Bernard. Very good guy, very nice guy. Go and follow him too. He's a legend. So yeah, content is a part of my day. So I would say a week. Because the beautiful thing about my content is, especially when it's my client work, it's stuff that I've already drawn, it's stuff that I've already mocked up, and stuff that I've already shared with my client. So when it comes to like my case study posts, they take literally seconds. All I've got to do, because I've got all that content, because I take pictures of my process as I go, take maybe a couple of nicer shots, and then basically put my hashtags in, bing, bang, bosh, done.
And you use templates a lot, don't you? I mean, and as in, you obviously, you know, you've got your personal brand and it's got a very distinct look. So it's not like you're sort of trying to decide, oh, what font shall I use for this? You know, you've got a layout pretty standard that you're using.
So for like case studies, like I said, when it's the other work, it's like a couple of pictures, flat lay vectors of how that works and how it's broken down, and then some mock-ups. For like my kind of carousel post where I just chat about stuff, I have my own font made. Do you know what I mean? I used to hand write all those suckers, and it took me hours, especially when you'd get annoyed if you did do a spelling mistake that way. But now they take me as long as it takes me to type it.
So
Because
in a week, how many hours do you think you spend creating your content?
15.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
15, 20, 25. No, it's not that much. I would say it's about 15 hours.
okay. Yeah, that's really helpful.
The reels take a little bit longer, obviously, because of the editing, and my wife helps me with those anyway. But I've tried to keep those really short. I used to do them for like 30 seconds, and now I'm trying to get them down to like 15, 10, because it's much easier. So yeah, about 15 hours, Mr. Bernard.
Okay, so another question. Do you ever walk away from clients if you feel that they impose their design ideas too much on your work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it's not a brassy thing. There's a process to that. So within my statement of work, within my contracts, there's a couple of policies that are really important for anybody here that they should put them in. There's obviously I've got a no communication policy. So
yeah, that's a good one.
The client doesn't talk to me for 30 days, the project's cancelled. I keep their deposit, which I take 75%. If they want to start again, we start the project again. Okay. But obviously there is a human element to that. It's all about communication. It's not cutthroat. If something has happened in their life and they just haven't got round to it, we jump on a call, we discuss how we're going to move it forward. But, my business isn't going to work or make money if people aren't getting back to me, because I've got people are starting at certain points all year. So I've got to be able to balance that time. I also have a process for feedback, and I also have a process for when talking about like my process and like how I work, how the feedback process works, when the client can be involved. If I feel at any stage that there is too much hand holding, too much input from the client, I will say so. And then, but it basically says within my contract that if I ever feel that it's getting too much, I can cancel the project or pause the project. And they sign this off.
Yeah. I think communication is such a big thing, isn't it? Is making sure that they know what the expectations are from them and what's expected of them in the process as well. But unless you communicate that with them clearly, then they're not necessarily going to know. So yeah, I think, and that's something that we're not necessarily, that's another one of those things I think that we're not necessarily taught, and you have to work out how to be a better communicator, what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you need to take the Logo Life bootcamp next year, Liz. That's what you need.
Yeah, that is what I need.
No, but it's so true. I mean, like we've kind of aired upon throughout this chat, relationships, human connection, being authentic. I used to think for many, many years that clients would be put off if I put a contract in front of them. But the contract isn't there just for me. It's to protect the client and me. Well. There's also things in there that, if I have an accident, if I can't finish the work, what happens in that respect as well. So a good contract works both ways. And what it does is it puts your stakes in the ground. Like, this is how we work. This is the process. You came to me, this is how I work, and this is how it's going to roll. And I think the biggest problem is, yes, communication when it comes to design and stuff, but I think it's also control. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think creative people give too much control to the client, which is where it can spiral.
Yeah.
So being on it, going through your contracts, having your process sorted, which is something we've talked about, actually allows your client to relax, makes you feel that you're in control. And like I said, if I ever have, the contracts and SOWs that you put together, they're not for there's a big difference between, difficult clients and bad clients. You're going to get difficult clients who do want to be involved. This process allows you to control them. Bad clients are rude, aggressive, so you got to remember, you just got to protect yourself. Because if I have a bad client experience now, I'm like, 75% deposit, mate. You signed it. You're in control here now.
Yeah.
You act however you want to act, because I can leave at any time. and I
Thomas,
can sleep. Yeah.
yeah. Thomas has said in the chat, the clearer you are on process and terms, the easier it is to avoid bad clients. And that good clients are happy with clear terms and process. And I would say that is definitely true from my experience.
That is 100% true, but you do have to be aware that everybody talks a good game at
Yeah.
the beginning. I've had some fantastic people on discovery calls before we've started. Get them in the process, absolute knobheads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is why the contract's really, really important, because everybody can talk a really good game in the beginning, you know, but come across as a great client, no red flags. Soon as you start, the gremlins come out. But
Yeah.
this is why the terms and conditions are important. And like you said, you know, contracts are important because they stop that from affecting your life.
Yeah. Okay, we've only got 4 minutes left, but I've got one last question from you. And this is from Masood. And he asks, if I am just starting out in the logo design journey 2 years ago, how can I compete with the Goliath logo designers? That's probably a big question. Last question. But couple of minutes.
I think like I mentioned, you know, 2 years he's been in the industry.
He's been going 2 years.
See you in 16.
Yeah, just keep going and keep showing up, I guess. Yeah.
Patience is power. You know, you will not be the finished article after 2 years. You know, after 2 years, I didn't even know if I still wanted to be a designer. You know, I didn't niche until, so I've been going 18 years and I only niched. So in design, 18 years, I only niched into logo design and brand identity 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. So, you know, you've got so much more time than you think. And be patient, because what you are seeing today, the Goliaths, so the people that you are talking about, they have been doing this for a very, very long time. You know, I have been in the industry 9 times longer than you.
Yeah.
So come and chat to me in 16 years and you will be the Goliath.
Yeah.
And I'll be retired on my island.
On your island. Amazing. Yeah. Well, that's a good place to end, imagining you retired on your island.
Sunning myself with oil on my breasts. Yeah, it'd be great. What a lovely little way to end it. Yeah. Love it.
Oh, thank you so much, James. It's been so great to have you over on Adobe Live. And yeah, I hope everyone's really enjoyed it. I mean, there's been so many bombs dropped. I'm gonna have to rewatch later and make notes. I was like trying to secretly jot some things down, but yeah, it was really, really great. So thank you so much. And thanks everyone who's joined us in the chat. It's been great to have you here, and thanks for all your questions. We will be back on Friday. I'll be back with the Adobe Express live stream at 2:30. So I'd love to see you there. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us, and have a great rest of the day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Liz.
Thanks.